How is it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm finally tackling a rite of passage for any LEGO MOC builder, a massive Star Wars clone base. Think light bluish gray, dark bluish gray, and of course, one epic ATTE rolling out of a huge base door.
Oh yeah.
So here's the deal. It hit me recently while making my every LEGO MOC I've ever built video that I haven't built anything Clone Wars related in 6 years. 6 years. That's borderline unacceptable for someone with a stash of clone battle packs and minifigures collecting dust. So it's time to change that and go all out. Let's see if I got what it takes to join the ranks of some serious MOC builders.
Join us. Join us.
Here's the rough sketch I'm working from. A clone base with a modified ATTE bursting through a giant door on one side, an industrial style elevator on the far right, a lower lookout platform on the left, a full interior, and layers of detail in between. This video is just part 1 out of 2 because I want to take my time and make sure this MOC is something special. I don't want to rush anything about it. First up is the ATTE. Now, I'm not a technical genius when it comes to vehicle builds. Those Technic structures throw me every time. So I started with instructions from LEGO's latest ATTE set, and then came the fun part, customizing it to fit my MOC style. First, enjoy this tedious editing. I streamlined the colors on the legs, added some printed dish pieces for extra detail, updated all of the panels to be smoother, I tiled them all off and also used the snot technique for the front panels. I even worked in a few stickers to give it that battle-worn, blaster-damaged look. I got rid of the Technic handle and replaced it with a bunch of black grill pieces. I also completely changed the top turret from the barrel of the gun to the chair. And for the cockpit, I swapped the trans clear windows for trans yellow ones. It's those small pops of color that make all the difference. And yeah, I chopped off the back of the ATT to fit inside the doorway. Don't worry, you won't see that part. It's all about the angles. With the ATT ready, it was time to start the base. I laid out a sturdy foundation using 16x16 and 8x8 plates connected with filler bricks because, let's be honest, no one wants a wobbly MOC this size. I then finished working on the base by placing down a few more plates and connecting them with more filler brick. Next was the base entrance. I built these angled corners using one of my favorite designs, snot bricks, cheese slopes, and brackets to get that sleek, flat angle. Here you can see how it was built. It's such a simple way to give your MOC some cool angles and dimensions. I then connected the two sides on top. The left wall of the base was up next. I used mixel joints to lock in the angles and layered on panel pieces for that clean industrial vibe. Let me tell you though, this part fought me the whole way. The wall kept leaning forward until I reinforced it with internal supports. MOCs this size, they just always come with some surprises. It's still currently leaning forward too much, but I did sort of eventually fix the inside. I definitely built something wrong. Oh, and let's not forget my cat. She decided to take up residence as an ATTE placeholder in the doorway. Honestly, she might have done a better job than I did. She even eventually fell asleep, which was pretty cute. Once she moved, I added some tiles all along the bottom of the entrance. Next, I worked on a little control box and kept building up the sides of the base using some LBG bricks. To break up some of the plain bricks, I added some rounded bricks on some snot bricks to give the base some more texture while not being too distracting. I want this base to have a simple look to it while still being complex. I then needed to add more plates to the bottom of the MOC to lock everything in more. I definitely should have done this earlier in the build process because it wasn't super easy. After that, I did some more work on the back of the MOC, like adding some filler brick and building up the sides some more. Not a ton of interesting building techniques go into this part of the build process, just a ton of building straight up with regular bricks. I figured it was time to finish the entrance by adding the door that will be sticking out on both sides, simulating some action that it's opening up for the ATTE. I used a lot of snot bricks, plates, bricks, modified bricks, tiles, brackets, and cheese slopes. After placing down the doors, I went back to working on the left side of the MOC. Snot bricks came in handy here again. I placed a lot of them and then tiles on top. I also added 2 black power boxes with some dark bluish gray ingot pieces. Adding details like this is one of my favorite parts about building LEGO MOCs. I love random sci-fi technical greebled bits like that. I added a few rounded bricks to connect the boxes and act almost as power lines or pipes. I did end up shortening this section. It felt a tad bit too tall, and this is supposed to be the shorter section. Next, I began working more on the elevator section of the MOC. I used some of those industrial looking modified plates and a bunch of rounded bricks for the elevator shaft. The rounded bricks will fit flush into the archway pieces I used on the actual elevator. I then just built up more LBG bricks around it. Before I built any more on the left side of the MOC, I needed to add more filler brick in the back and build up the sides with support pieces. During all of this, I was also trying to visualize and plan how I wanted to add an interior and make sure I was leaving enough space for there to be an interior. Having the inside of this MOC be fully fleshed out will make it a lot more interesting in my opinion. Here's how everything is looking so far. I am pretty happy with how it's looking so far. There's a lot that needs to be done though, and I think it will actually look a lot more different in the end. I needed to focus on building up the back some more before finishing the top of the platform. I'm going to fill in a lot of gaps and also add some more snot brick, because why not? I then need to tile off this beam to make it a little nicer to look at and plate off the top of the entire platform. Before doing any more building, I needed to clean up my workspace and put some of the parts away. Keeping my space organized really helps keep my head on straight when building projects like this. It also just helps me be more efficient. There's still so much to do in part 2. I'll tackle the landscaping, trees, terrain, maybe even some trenches, and start filling in the interior with all the fun details that make a MOC like this come alive. But here's where you come in. What do you think I should include inside the base? Should it be a medical bay, trooper barracks, a cafeteria, a command center? Also, let me know if I should build up the landscaping all around the base like I did with my Imperial base MOC, or just keep it on the ground. Leave your ideas in the comments. Here's how everything is looking now. This front left platform is getting close to being done, just needs to be tiled off and some smaller details added. I created some indents for some like vending machines that maybe dispense ammo or medical equipment. I updated the fence around the entire base. I also started working on the top angled part of the base. This is using the same cheese slope angle design I used earlier. This part will most likely be a command center, but who knows, maybe it can be something else. Alright, let's jump into some more building. This MOC is actually very tall and becoming quite a challenge to build it on my small desk. I added more railings all around the base for some more detail using some bar pieces, which ended up looking super cool. It was some much needed detail to the outside of the base. I did a lot more work on the command center. I built up the sides, finished about 90% of the doorway, and added some cool printed window panels. It looks very much like some cool brutalist architecture now, which I'm realizing has really inspired this base. Here's where the build stands so far. The ATT is ready, the base is taking shape, and the command center is starting to look like something straight out of the Clone Wars. Stick around for part 2, where this MOC is going to reach a whole new level. Thanks for watching, and again, stay tuned for part 2.